everybody. Wanted to do a quick video today. I'm going to go ahead and jump in and start the Lightbringer magic system explanation video, and that's going to take me a little while. So this one is quick and easy to film, and so doing a book tag. I don't do a lot of these, but figured this one sounded fun. Made me think of a Chuck Norris joke. So it's called Two Books, One Stone, which is a play on the two birds with one stone saying. You can kill two birds with one stone. This was created by Shawn, the book Maniac. I'll link his video down in the description below, the original video for it. I went ahead and subscribed to his channel because I thought this is a really cool book tag. Maybe he'll have some great content. I think he's living in Japan, or maybe he was at the time. So the reason I really want to do this book tag is because I've always enjoyed Chuck Norris jokes. Makes me think of the joke, you may kill two birds with one stone, but Chuck Norris kills two stones with one bird. So question one is, what is the second to last book that you've read? So for me, that's Another Fine Myth by Robert Asprin. Just did a video on it. Not a whole lot of people watched it. But cool thing about it is, sorry, I got all my books sitting on a table right here. With Another Fine Myth, Robert Asprin did a great job of creating a short, fun, easy fantasy series that makes fun of itself, makes fun of the whole fantasy, everything. Just turns everything on its head, makes it funny. Review up there somewhere. So my second to the top TBR book is Kraken by China McElville. While we were on a cruise recently, a guy I was sitting in the hot tub with recommended me China McElville as an author. I know that sounds funny. Two dudes sitting in a hot tub talking about fantasy books. But that's what happened. He was a big guy with a beard. And I'm a guy with a beard. And we were talking about fantasy books. Kind of funny story. We were talking about books, and this other dude hops in the hot tub. So it's three dudes sitting in a hot tub, and the guy's like, "Hey, what are you guys talking about?" And we're like, "Oh, we're just talking about fantasy books. It's great, wonderful." He goes, "Oh, okay." And he gets out of the hot tub and walks away. But from what I can tell, Kraken from China McElville is a book about a futuristic London, or a different type of London. Really excited to jump in. Guy sounded like he really appreciated its author, so threw it on my TBR, and it is in this book tag. So question number 3 is 2 of your 2-star reads. I rarely give books 2 stars. Did a video on Annihilation up there somewhere. I did not enjoy it at all. Read the whole book, really struggled with it. Kind of talked about in that review. I had to listen to it on audiobook because, it was like fall asleep bad. But I wanted to finish it. I really wanted to see the movie. So I pushed through and I read it all. The second one that I really didn't like, I don't think I've ever given a book 1 star. Usually if it's that bad, I just put it down and I don't read it. The second book that I gave 2 stars was The Gunslinger by Stephen King. I was bored in the beginning. You're not really a spoiler here, but the gunslinger's moving through the desert, and then right about halfway, the action kind of starts, and then there's an interaction between some people, and I was really getting into it, and then the ending sucked. It's a Stephen King book, endings for Stephen King, whatever. Most of the time, that's not a new thing to say, oh, I didn't like the ending of a Stephen King book. But for this one, it really tainted it for me because I am a little leery on reading the rest of the series. I'm probably going to do it anyway. All right, so question number 4 is 2 great books by the same author. I want to do Dave Duncan. The Reluctant Swordsman, just did a review on it. It's a first book in the trilogy, really, really good, enjoyed it. Actually, 2 and 3 I think are even better. But wanted to put, the Reluctant Swordsman series and the Magic Casement series, which I have on my Kindle. I'll put a picture. That series was fantastic as well. And Dave Duncan really doesn't get a whole lot of love on YouTube, and really want to put some awareness to Dave Duncan because I think he's a great author. If you're a Canadian, there you go. He's a Canadian too. So question 5 is 2 Bales or DNFs. Shawn from the book Maniac called it Bales. I was like, ooh, that's a way better than DNF. So I'm going to start calling it Bales. So my 2 Bales recently have been Robin Hood, which I went ahead and started reading with Murphy and Naper's book club on Caravan. I just really couldn't get into it. I think I read an abridged version when I was a kid, and it was enjoyable. And so I've read the book before, went back and read like the classic version, and it was like joyous. Oh, let's get in a fight. Oh, okay, now you're part of the group. And I just it didn't enjoy it. And then the second one is Ready Player One. I probably will get back to reading this one, but I've told you guys on the channel before, I'm a Christian. I'm pretty religious, and I try not to let that affect the way that I read fantasy. I know a lot of people do not believe the same that I do, but when you start your book out and you say, hey, guess what? Everything you believe in is completely false. Nothing you even think is real. You're stupid. And basically saying this about a woman, but he's really telling the audience, hey, I'm an atheist. You Christian weirdos are stupid. And, I want to enjoy this book. I really do. And it felt like more of a, okay, I'm a nerd. I want to talk about my nerdy things and do that, which I am too. I like everything about this book. I should have enjoyed, and it just never. Maybe it was that weird start where they're telling me that my religion is dumb, or maybe it was just he was going to stuff that was so nerdy that I couldn't even get into it. And a lot of people tell me this is their favorite book. Most likely, I'm going to finish it. I don't think I'm not going to finish it, but it was one of those things where I put it down and I just haven't picked it back up. I'm halfway through. Yeah, I'll finish it. It's not a long book, but I'm not in a hurry to. So I'm putting it on a list of DNFs. So question 6 is your 2 favorite reads of the year. This year I actually read 1984. It was one of those books where it changed my opinion on some things. I don't know if I've said it on the channel, but I'm pretty much a libertarian. Because I'm religious, I probably lean a little more right, but I like to believe in absolute freedom. When you think of like my political belief, I'm more like Ron Swanson from Parks and Rec. I'm like, the government should be like this big and should let us have our freedoms and we'll govern ourselves. That's kind of where I am personally. I don't think the Democrats or Republicans either do it well. So 1984 for me was right up my alley. It was like, hey, you give government power, it's going to be authoritism. It's going to be an authoritarianism. I think what Orwell was trying to point out, even though he was a socialist, he was saying, I understand where socialism, if taken the wrong way, will turn into a totalitarian government and be horrible for the world. And so that was really interesting for me. I enjoyed it. I digested it. Kind of slowed down as I was reading it, and that was a lot of fun. And then the second one is actually going to be book 4, The Blood Mirror from Lightbringer series. I actually read the whole series this year, up to book 5 comes out here next month, or this month actually. But Blood Mirror was my favorite of the 4 that I read. Don't want to say much about it because I don't want to spoil it. Book 4, if you haven't read book 1, there's a lot of stuff I could say about it that would spoil things in book 1, 2, and 3. So just by the time you get to book 4, it is fantastic. So question 7 is 2 of your favorite new booktubers. One of my favorite people I've started watching lately is Mike. He does the Geek Vibes podcast, and he's started a booktube channel. I think he's done the podcast for quite a long time, but he started a booktube channel, and I really enjoy it. It's a bit longer name. I'll put it in the description. You should go check him out. He is fantastic. A lot of my tastes are his tastes. I think he's out in Texas, but seems like a really cool guy, and I've enjoyed watching his videos. The other person that I've started watching, I'll link her in the description too, is Michelle. She's even more brand new than me. I've been on here since May, I think. Maybe. But she is really interesting. She's out in Australia, and I've learned some stuff about books in Australia where they're like super crazy expensive, and really neat to see her perspective as well. And I've enjoyed listening to her and watching her videos as well. So on number 8, I'm going to cheat a little bit. This is a book that you've read twice. I've actually read this book 3 times. It is The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. I love this book. The second book is good. I like it a lot. And the third book is probably the weakest of 3 so far. But for me, Way of Kings, some of the interactions between characters really just encouraged me. And I'm going to read a quote out of here for the next question. But, and I'm trying to be vague so there's no spoilers. the interactions between these characters and the way that they affect one another, the relationships that are built, it just really dug deep into me. And I am a Kaladin fan. You know, a lot of people are Shaolin fans, and I totally understand it. For me, it's Kaladin, Adolin, Shaolin, Dalinar. Great book series. If you haven't heard of Brandon Sanderson, I don't know where you've been. Number 9 is 2 fabulous quotes from books you've read. And so, I said I was going to do Way of Kings. Here it is. So here's the quote. What is a man's life worth? The slave masters say, one is worth about 2 emerald bronze. What do you say? I say a life is priceless. Then the other guy smiles. I don't want to say names for spoilers. Coincidentally, that's exactly the value of what I gave him. So today, you and your men sacrificed to buy me 2,600 priceless lives, and all I have to repay you with is a single thing, and I call that a bargain. I believe life is valuable, so for me, the idea that he was willing to trade a priceless thing for these men's lives was awesome. I love that in the book, that he's the type of character that cared enough about others, people he barely even knew, who were slaves. Man, I bet that's a huge spoiler. I'm so sorry if you haven't read this book. I tried to be vague. Sorry. And then the other one is all from Bloodmere. Try to be vague on this one too. You may want to skip my quotes part of this. So I like to tinker with wood, building things, carving, things like that. So for these 2 characters were having trouble in their marriage, and they're looking at a very decorative ceiling. And for me, it was very intense. I don't know if you've ever been in a spot where, personally I'm married, and you feel like you can't bridge the gap some days. And the interaction between these 2 characters for me was fantastic. You can definitely tell that Brent Weeks loves his wife, and he encourages a great relationship with her, or at least he knows how to, and wrote it down pretty well. So they're talking about the ceiling, and they took the knot holes in the wood, which, if you've ever seen them, when the tree branches where they come out creates a knot, and it's just a flaw in the wood, right? So what about the gold stars, the knot holes? Oh, well, that's an old tradition. In woodworking like this, knots in the lumber are a tremendous challenge. You can't get the beam this size without them. But they're a problem when you're felling trees, because the saw will bind in the knot. And then, when the lumber's cut, the knot becomes a weakness in the structure. In every way, the knot's a flaw, an embarrassment that must be worked around, glued or minimized, or covered over as well as possible. But there's another school of thought. Instead of ignoring the flaw, they highlight it instead. It's called golden joinery, or golden repair. Look, maybe it's just the artists talking, but they say it's not a celebration of flaws, but an acceptance of them, addressed insofar as the structure it needs. Here, the artist, that was the wood. Here, in addition, the artist added gold dust that would be mixed into the joinery glue and hold the knot together and make the starburst patterns. He also employed master artisans. And then he looks over at his wife and he says something pretty profound. Regardless, they did one heck of a job, didn't they? I can't imagine the ceiling without these golden stars and reflecting something so beautiful. I mean, he took something, an interaction that they were having, talking about the flaws in their relationship, and then entered it into his marriage. And I thought that was one of the most mature things that I could have seen. This whole book, the relationships in here get so deep and so personal. By the time you get to this book, it's great. But that may be a dumb quote. I truly enjoyed it. I really, really, really did. The last question is to tag other booktubers to do this in at least multiples of 2. So I'm going to do 4. Shades of Orange, she's a horror booktuber. She's really cool. I'm going to do Mystery Date with a Book, which is Faye. She's over in Northern Ireland. Crack Into a Good Book. She's about as new as I am. She's really cool. I should have put her in the new booktubers. And then Scott from Book Invasion. He's a really cool guy as well. If they do the videos, I'd love for them to tell me about it, because I thought this was a really cool book tag and I wanted to share it. So you guys have a wonderful night. There will be social media stuff down at the bottom, Twitter, Discord, Goodreads. Please follow me. Like, subscribe if you thought this was fun. Book tags seem to do well, so I'll try to do them every now and then. But really, I started this as a book review channel and want to do as many book reviews as possible. But I don't mind doing some booktube stuff. So here we go. You guys have a wonderful night. Thank you very much.